we have 8 million people that will be exposed to this horrible nightmare, living with radiation, not knowing where it is, can't see it, can't taste it, can't feel.
If they restart and these tubes fail again and the systems in place fail, then we'll have an accident. And our guests from Japan that were here at 311, they reminded us that they believed their company, TEPCO, they believed their government that everything was safe. They now, in their words, know that that was a lie and that they were not safe.
This plant has pumps hooked up to batteries. They were disconnected for not a day, not 4 days, not even a week, not 4 weeks, not 4 months, 4 solid years. They were not hooked up. That means if we had any disaster, guess what would happen? No pumps turn on, thing melts down, thing is devastated, 8 million people have to be evacuated. We can't trust these guys. They can't even keep the batteries hooked up.
Fukushima has caused an enormous amount of suffering for hundreds of thousands of people in Japan. We cannot ignore that. It's still happening. As a community, we have severe trust problems with Edison. We cannot trust SC Edison. And the NRC has a very poor record of enforcing the strict safety standards that a nuclear power plant would have to live by. We saw what happened in Japan, and we're terrified. We're terrified that it could happen right here in Southern California. We want to prevent San Onofre from being our Fukushima.
Yeah.
This chart goes over multiple years. The red line, which on the far right, represents San Onofre's the number of complaints, they call them safety allegations, against Edison. The blue lines are all the other 64 plants in the entire country, their rate of complaints from employees. As you can see, San Onofre is off the charts. Yeah, there's 64 plants, and this has been going on for years, and their rate has been going up. There's also another chart that looks very similar to this, the rate of harassments against employees, discrimination against employees that have reported safety violations. There'll be and that's also on the website. You can get copies of these charts. They have you know, an off-the-chart rate of retaliation.
So I make sure I understand. So these are safety violations raised by employees to the NRC.
Employees and on-site contractors.
So what was the number for San Onofre and over what period of time?
The chart goes from 2007 to 2011, and San Onofre had 144 allegations. And the average in that, well, Atla Canyon is pretty high too, 50, but you know, it's still high. But if you average it out, the average for most plants is about, what is it, about 10 a year. Well, we're 10 times worse than the average of all plants in the entire country. And this is safety violations. Safety. Yeah, well, 90% of the NRC funding comes from the nuclear industry, so that's another factor.
If this plant reopens under these present conditions without the proper testing and the proper confirmation by independent sources, and there's an accident, they will kill not only the nuclear industry in the United States, but they will kill the 8th largest economy in the world, California. Nobody wants that to happen at this time in the world economy. So it is ridiculous to think that. The other thing that's a major problem over there, there's about 1,500 tons of high-level nuclear waste over there. And it's higher-level nuclear waste than in Japan because we ran it longer. We run our fuel about 22 months. Japan ran theirs about 15 or 16 months before they recycled it. We take it out at 22 months, meaning that it's higher level of high-level plutonium waste. So if that plant goes off, not the reactors, but if there's a problem with the spent fuel rods, then we are in worse trouble than Japan.
The green line is our surplus energy in California. So we're risking the country's breadbasket. We're risking the future of this nation for energy we don't need. If that isn't insane, I don't know what is.
And the question was asked, why don't we trust the NRC? And one of the reasons is that we've been to the NRC many, many times. For decades, we've gone to the NRC and we've told them about problems that we see at the plant. Little problems, big problems, enormous problems, unsolvable problems. It doesn't make any difference. Nothing ever changes. After one unit went down because it had hundreds and hundreds of worn tubes, we said, why don't you look at Unit 3? And they didn't do anything. They didn't look at Unit 3. And now they're not really looking at the two units together. They want to separate the two and get Unit 2 started and leave Unit 3 until they can put new steam generators in, because you know they only tested one tube in Unit 2. They need to test a lot more tubes in Unit 2. In fact, they need to test so many tubes that there's not going to be enough tubes left to run the thing. And I'm dead serious about that. This is a statistical engineering problem. And they had 8 failures when they went and tested. That's just among the ones that they looked at. There's 10,000 tubes in each of four generators. That's 40,000 tubes. They're not looking at them all. We're just taking our chances if we start this thing.
Recently, France, who is highly dependent on their nuclear power, conducted a study, and it was found that in areas surrounding the nuclear power plants there was a higher incidence of cancers. And we haven't talked about the problems that the health poses if the plant stays open, or even since it's been open for the number of years that it has. And I would like to bring that out as a concern for the plant to never open again.